I am totally going to be paranoid about somebody sticking their fingers in my ears now. Thank you, Doctor Who.
There are no bogeymen.
That's not true.
You have to get out. Why?
I keep seeing these images projected into my head. Is it gonna hurt?
Probably not. Maybe. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Phil. Welcome to my channel where I talk about all the geeky pop culture that I enjoy. And I'm reviewing Doctor Who as I do every week here on this channel. So if you like Doctor Who, you like hearing reviews about it, hit that subscribe button and the bell and any other buttons that you feel like. The like button, don't forget that one. It's an important one, that one. And yeah, I'm doing this every week, so, you know, stick around. Episode 7 of Series 12, Can You Hear Me? The psychological horror episode, or psychological thriller, horror, bit of both, of the season. Written by Charlene James and Chris Chibnall, and I think we can all probably guess what Chris Chibnall's contribution to this episode was. I think most of the episode probably came from Charlene, but I think there were definitely some arc elements that Chris contributed to this episode. Now, I'm feeling a little bit conflicted about this episode, because there was so much good stuff in this episode, and for 90% of the time, I absolutely loved this episode. But, and it's a big but, the ending of The Threat, how they resolved everything, I'm skipping straight to this because it annoyed me a little bit, just sort of happened very quickly, and I don't know, it just kind of felt a bit anticlimactic at the end there. It's something that Doctor Who has a habit of doing a lot. Moffat was particularly bad at this, and it happened a lot in Series 10 as well, in Moffat's era. I remember it happened in Smile and a few other episodes. The plot would just be seeming to ramp up, and then suddenly there's a magic button that the Doctor presses, and it solves everything. And that's what happened here. And it really annoyed me, because the rest of the episode had been so good, and so, just like everything about the rest of the episode was great. And then it just spoils it at the end. Okay, that's my rant over. Let's talk about the good stuff, because there was a lot of good stuff in this episode as well. There was some great character stuff. Absolutely brilliant. And Yaz, this is what we've been wanting. Come on, this is great. Yaz finally has something to her character. Not just something to do, but we get some really amazing acting from Mandip Gill here. We get some brilliant backstory to her. We get a sort of insight into what makes her tick and what got her to the place where we first met her. And all of that is absolutely brilliant stuff. Absolutely great stuff from Mandip there. Graham as well. We got some brilliant stuff from Bradley Walsh. We got both the we got the emotional beats from him as well. We got some lovely moments where he's, you know, talking about how, and we're realizing that he's scared about his cancer coming back. And then we've got the more light-hearted moments, which he is brilliant at as well, and he blends the two so well in this episode. He's still my favourite companion. All of this sort of comes from the plot of the episode, because it's a psychological thriller. It's playing on the theme of our deepest fears, which is always a great one to sort of really delve into your characters and their characteristics and their background and their psychological, their psyches. It's great for that. And it's one that Doctor Who has done before. We, of course, had the God Complex in the 11th Doctor's era, which did a similar thing. They're very different episodes, but they use the same sort of premise and the same sort of basic sort of like themes to explore the main characters. And I really liked the way they did it here. They did it very differently here. God Complex was a very constrained, claustrophobic feeling episode. It was all set in one place in this hotel they couldn't get out of. Here we've got not only a globe trotting, we go to Aleppo, but a time travel plot. Time travel all over the place. We've got Aleppo in the 1300s. We've got a future space station. We've got the present day Earth. It's all over the place in terms of where they hop to. In that sense, it's got the kind of adventure feel to it, but it still grounds it in this psychological horror that works really well for giving us some great character moments. Another thing this episode does really nicely is lets us see how traveling with the Doctor is affecting our characters' everyday normal lives back on Earth. We saw the only other time I can really think massively about this being explored is with Amy and Rory. But here we get, Ryan with his mates feeling like he's abandoned them, and Yaz's family dynamic. There's not so much of that with Graham, but with the other two, it's interesting to see how their travels with the Doctor are starting to affect them, and they have a conversation to that effect towards the end, and how it's making an effect on their lives. And I think we're starting to sow the seeds of maybe 1, 2, maybe all of them, leaving at the end of this series. I think the seeds of that are being sown here, and I think that might be one of Chris Chibnall's influences. In terms of the plot itself, it did a brilliant job of evoking the sort of creepiness it wanted to. My skin was crawling, especially when Ian Gelder was on screen. An absolutely brilliant performance from him. It was dark, it was creepy, it was just everything you'd want it to be, and my skin was actually crawling. So really good stuff there from him. And the plot was a really solid plot, and I really liked what they did with it. And the animated sequence. We've got to talk about the animated sequence. Now, I have a feeling this is going to divide people. It's going to be a love it or hate it thing. I loved it. I thought it was a great thing to try out. I like this trying of different styles. We've got a lot of that in this episode, because I also like the way they sort of went into when people were in their dream nightmare sequences, the kind of transitions they used, the kind of smoky transitions, I think worked really well. They were very stylized, and very unique to this episode, but I think it worked with the theme of the episode, and I think so did the animated thing. I have a feeling it's going to divide people, though. I think some people will be like, this feels really out of place for Doctor Who, but I think it worked really well, and I'd like to see them experiment with different styles like that a little bit more. It'd be quite interesting. And it worked because they had this power of going into people's psyches. It kind of worked because you could imagine them just implanting this imagery into the head of the Doctor to explain what they're doing. So, and it was nice to see. Nice little story time. So yeah, we got some nice stuff from Graham, some comedy bits, and some moments. We got to see Grace again, which was lovely. Lovely to see her, even if, however fleeting it was, nice to see her. And we got to see Graham vulnerable and scared that his cancer might return. It was a nice moment. And I've already mentioned the stuff with Yaz. It was probably the most interesting Yaz has been since Series 11 started. And I hope they carry on down this track, and we see more of this. We need to see more like this from Yaz. The bit where she turned up at the end to the police officer that had come and found her, we got this little bit of background to her, and probably, I mean, it's never stated outright, but it sounds like this woman was the inspiration for her joining the police force. And we got that lovely reunion at the end that was quite touching, and genuinely I kind of felt it in, like, I was genuinely moved on that bit where she handed over that 50p. It was a great scene, and absolutely phenomenal acting from Mandip Gill in those scenes as well. And it's nice to finally see some development for Yaz, and something really for Mandip to get hold of and prove what a good actress she is. So overall, I mean, it was a great episode for most of it. It had this really interesting plot with this twist in the middle that I didn't see coming. I don't know about you, but I didn't see it coming. And I love the fact that that Ian Gelder's character managed to sort of trick the Doctor into releasing his colleague, his other Eternal. That was just that moment when the Doctor realizes the sort of look on her face. That was a really good moment. And then them deciding to attack Earth, it was all good, and then it kind of just ended. They just kind of defeated them really easily, and I felt like there should have been more to it. Maybe this should have been a two-parter, because they didn't really have enough time to do anything other than this. I don't know what they could have done. The only thing I can think of is make it a two-parter and make it a bit more epic. Like, it should have been... Part 2 should have started basically where the plot ended. And the only other criticism I have is use of the sonic screwdriver when escaping being captured. The way she flicks it up, it just, like, looked a bit weird. Like, how did she manage that? It was like her hand was magnetic, or she has Jedi powers to be able to fling it up. That's a minor thing. It's nowhere near as big a complaint as how it ended, because it kind of spoiled an almost perfect episode for me, the ending, which is a bit annoying. But look, what did you think? Did you like this? What did you think about Yaz finally getting some character development? And what did you think of the Doctor in this episode? For the most part, I really liked her. It's just the ending. Oh, very annoying ending to the plot. But some great character stuff anyway in this. So I'm a little bit conflicted about this episode. What did you think? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all that jazz. And I'll see you for another review next week. Bye.